Petre and Mark Broadhurst. Welcome back, everyone. It's been an exceptional weekend of Bundesliga action at the top end, action in the relegation race, and of course also the European spots. It's all hotting up very nicely. It's coming up to boiling point, and me and Mark, we've got so much to talk about. We can't even fit in some of our usual segments. So Mark will be revealing the answer to Mark's mystery anagram from last week, but we won't be doing a new one this week because we've basically got too much to talk about on the footballing scale. So yeah, the anagram will be back, of course. Hero and Zero will be back, but just pure football chat from myself and Mark tonight, analysing everything that's going on in the Bundesliga to bring a bit of cheer to everyone's lives. Hopefully that are tuning into the show. Obviously, if you're new to the channel with Over the Bar or even just the Bundesliga Show, and you like what you see, please do hit the subscribe button, give us a follow, and make sure you hit the bell icon as well, so you get notifications about every single video that comes up. We've got a few irons in the fire, so to speak. We've got some nice shows coming up, a few collabs as well, which we're working on, so keep an eye out for those as well. So without further ado, over to Mark. He'll reveal the answer for last week's anagram and kind of explain how the rest of the show is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start off by recapping last week's anagram. As Rory said, we're not going to have one for this week, but yeah, we will still look at last week's and give the correct answer for those of you that played. So yeah, it was Boa Bluish last week, and we did actually have one person who got it correct. I'm just going to reveal the correct answer before I show his name, but it was Hoffenheim's forward Ilhas Bebu. So yeah, congratulations if you got it right at home. But on the YouTube channel, we did actually have one commenter who got it correct. So I'm going to bring his name up. He's a new viewer as far as we know. He's a new commenter. So yes, Sam B, congratulations. You managed to get the correct answer for the mystery anagram for week 25. So yeah, it was quite a tough one, I thought. But yeah, you guys are really coming up with the goods at the moment. So yeah, thanks a lot, Sam, for commenting. Keep interacting with the blog. We love hearing from you guys and fans, and obviously our usual crew keep commenting and interacting as usual. So let's swiftly move on because we've got a lot to talk about. We've had a lot of good games this weekend, probably one of the best weekends of the Bundesliga this season. So let's have a look at the results. So on Friday night, we had a 1-0 win for Leipzig in Arminia Bielefeld. Moving on to the Saturday, Cologne and Dortmund drew 2-2. Bayern Munich got a 4-0 win over Stuttgart in the Süd Derby, which you can watch another video of ours on the site as well. Frankfurt got a thrilling 5-2 win over Union in what was an end-to-end game. Wolfsburg with a big 2-1 win at Werder Bremen. On the Saturday evening, we had a comfortable 3-0 for Gladbach in Schalke in a local derby. Then moving on to the Sunday, it was the relegation day, wasn't it? And we had a 2-1 win for Mainz in Hoffenheim. Then we had a 3-0 win for Hertha Berlin against off-form Leverkusen. Then we had, this was probably the only game of the weekend that was mid-table, really, a 2-0 win for Freiburg over Augsburg. So that's your 9 games of the weekend. A lot of goals this weekend, as you can see. So yeah, so this weekend, as Rory said, we're not going to have the featured 4. We're actually going to go through every game. I think every game, apart from the last one, had implications either at the top or the bottom end of the table. So let's make a start with the Friday night game, with the title race and the relegation race in this game, which was a 1-0 win for Leipzig over Bielefeld. I mean, it certainly wasn't a classic, was it? But for me, this was a really, really big win for Leipzig. I mean, obviously, first half, a few good saves from that man, Ortega, who always just seems to produce the goods, doesn't he? For me, one of the best goalkeepers of the season this year for Bielefeld. But then just, I think, 42 seconds into the second half, we had the breakthrough with almost applying Sabitzer for a tap-in. It was a big goal as well. And then I would say they relatively comfortably held on there, Rory, in that game.
Yeah, it Yeah, an important win for RB against a Bielefeld side who just show so much character in game after game after game, really. A character that might well come the end of the season be enough to see them safe. We'll have to see. But they kept going at it, but Leipzig were the dominant side. Even though they did rotate their team. So again, they didn't start with the natural striker on this occasion, where that sometimes does come to bite them. But on this sort of occasion where they can dominate the ball and really do all their nice interchanging passes and movement, it was okay. They didn't necessarily need a target man to get themselves through this game. However, they might have been thinking at halftime, oh, if we don't get a goal soon here, we might have to bring on the likes of Poulsen or Sorloth. But yeah, it's obviously a nicely worked goal in the end that Olmo just cuts back perfectly for Sabitzer to tap in. Looks slight. They obviously had to check it for offside, but obviously I think it was level basically, so it stood. Just crucial really to get the weekend off to a good start for Leipzig's point of view, put a bit of pressure on their title challengers or the champions themselves, Bayern. So knock it down to 1 point overnight and see how Bayern are going to react in the Sud derby. Obviously, Bayern did the job, but we'll talk about them in due course. But yeah, that's all RB can do really at this point. Just keep on putting the pressure on, especially if they ever play before Bayern. That's great, so they can chop the points down. Obviously now we're looking towards the big game after the international break between RB and Bayern. Can they pull off a big result in that game, get all their superstars out into that game and pull off a huge win, which would really blow open the title race. So yeah, professional job, great result for RB, and far from a disgraceful one for Bielefeld, who are hanging on in there despite the results that have happened this weekend.
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting statistic from that game that I saw was that Leipzig got 80% possession away from home. That must be one of the highest we've seen this season in the Bundesliga, 80% away from home. Yeah. And I think, it was a very controlled performance. It certainly wasn't a performance that lived long in the Leipzig fans' memory. But yeah, I mean, aside from, I think, one Fabian Klos chance for Bielefeld, the shot that he fired over, it's not really been his season for Klos, has it, this year? And I think, obviously, aside from that, it was very comfortable. A few good saves from Ortega, as I said. But yeah, I mean, for me, this was... Some people might say it was a bit of an underwhelming performance from Leipzig, but for me, this was a big result, really, because it did put the pressure on Bayern, which obviously they obliged later on, as you mentioned. But still, I mean, this shows that Leipzig is still in the race at the moment. They're not going to give this up. I mean, if they can get a win against Bayern, then they've got a really, really big chance. But obviously, it's easier said than done to achieve that. I think as for Bielefeld, at the time, you were thinking, this is a good result, a 1-0 defeat. It's not done too much damage to their goal difference. But then obviously, what happened later on in the weekend, it looks like a poor result all of a sudden. But I think one thing is worth saying about Bielefeld, they do have a much kinder run of fixtures now coming up. We've mentioned a lot that they've had a horrible run this last 6-7 games. They played Bayern, Dortmund, Leipzig, Leverkusen, like so many of the best teams we've seen them play this last 5-6 weeks. Now the last 8 games, they are going to start having a few more winnable fixtures. So we'll have to see what they can do with that. Okay, so let's move on to the Sud derby now, which was, of course, Bayern versus Stuttgart. I mean, this game really had a lot of talking points, didn't it? I think, obviously, the key talking point was what happened in the first 20 minutes, a straight red card for Alphonso Davies. I think nobody can really complain about that one. It was initially given as a yellow card, but later upgraded to a straight red card for a horrible challenge for Davies. I mean, I just wanted to mention a little bit about Davies as well, because, I mean, he's a player that last season people were saying there's no better fullback in the world than him. But this season, it's really, really been a stall for him, hasn't it, largely? Obviously, injuries haven't helped, but I think performances haven't been anywhere near the same level as last season, Rory. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I would say that you're starting to get back to more of a level in recent weeks. I think we've seen him start to be the same Davies as last season. As you mentioned, I think you're right. I think the right decision came to in the end. It's given us a yellow to start with. I don't think there's any malicious intent in the tackle. I think it's just one of those. I think it come from a throw in. He's just trying to win the ball back quickly, and he just obviously goes over the ball onto Endo's ankle, and it looks really nasty actually from second viewing. So yeah, right decision, red card, and then you're thinking, wow, the Sud derby has now been blown wide open. Thinking, yeah, go on, Stuttgart, push forward. And before we come to the blitz of goals that happened, certainly there was one certain chance for Stuttgart where the stand kind of duo where the ball gets worked out to Sousa, whips into Kalajdzic, and his header from fairly close range for him was quite tame. Well, it wasn't tame. The problem was it was straight at Neuer, so Neuer could collect it for a save that was perhaps quite a big moment, really, because if Kalajdzic heads that in, it's 1-0 with a man advantage. Maybe Stuttgart can start to do something, but yeah, and then the champions just clicked into gear. It's like they were offended by that red card that I used to, like, what are you trying to do to us, sort of thing. So yeah, first goal, Gnabry, nice bit of play down the wing, good cross into Lewandowski, right place, right time, stabs it in for 1-0. The second goal was really nice interchange between Muller and Sane to lay it on a plate for Gnabry. Lovely football, have to admit. The third goal, then all these three goals came in within 5 minutes of each other to effectively kill the game. Lovely little chipped ball in by Muller for Lewandowski to sublimely head home, I have to say. And then a bit of fortune where the ball kind of breaks to Lewandowski nicely about 5 minutes before half time. He gets his hat trick. And then, yeah, the game is done. And then no more goals came in the second half as Bayern just had to see out the game as they did perfectly. So yeah, it certainly didn't go as I thought it might after a red card, but I mean that was impressive from Bayern. I have to say that was clinical. Lewandowski just pure filth. Just can't stop scoring. Just knows where to be, right time, perfect hat trick headers, left foot, right foot. Yeah, unbelievable. So bad day at the office for Stuttgart in the Sud derby, but yeah, Bayern, an impressive response to the RB win on Friday night.
Yeah, I think for me that was without doubt, one of Bayern's best performances of the season. As you say, some of the goals were just outstanding, especially the first three goals were just beautiful goals, really, weren't they? I think another man that's really starting to click into form now over the last 5-6 games is Leroy Sane. We mentioned before that he wasn't having the best season, but I think this was a really good performance from him. He's back up to his tricky old self, creating chances, dribbling, creating key passes, and yeah, I think this was, I wouldn't perhaps say his best performance, but it was definitely in his top 3 or 4 best performances of the season as well. I think sometimes it doesn't work out when you get them down to 10 men, Bayern. Like, as you say, they click into that I would say the Champions League gear, if you know what I mean. It's just sometimes you do feel as though they've been playing within themselves this season in the Bundesliga, don't you? And I think when they went down to 10 men, they thought, Stuttgart are a team that can really cause us some problems. And to be 4-0 up at half time, I mean, that's just a sickener for Stuttgart, isn't it? I mean, admittedly, Stuttgart weren't good in this game at all. They will see it to an extent as a missed chance. But I still think with the way that Bayern played, particularly for the rest of that first half, that was just like Bayern at top level, And I think realistically, Stuttgart didn't have much of a chance, even though Bayern did play for 72 minutes with 10 men, including extra time. It's just, it was an insane performance, and fair play to Bayern for that. It's as for Stuttgart, they're still in the way results went. They still have a chance of that top 6 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good end for them in regard to results of other teams. So yeah, they're still in with a shout of Europe. They'll be happy to see the back of Bayern this season, that's for sure. They lost 3-1 and 4-0 with a 7-1 aggregate. So yeah, they'll definitely be happy to see the back of the Sud derby for another year. But yeah, Bayern roll on, and they're going to be hard to stop over this next 8 games. Okay, so on to what was arguably the game of the weekend. It was Frankfurt 5, Union Berlin 2. I think, there's where can you start with this game? I mean, it was just chance after chance, wasn't it, for both sides? Obviously, Max Kruse getting a double as well. He's now up to 10 goals for the season. Since he came back, I think he's created more of a goal threat again for Union, whose goals had dried up a little bit, but they seem to be creating a lot more, especially from his set plays, of course, as well, which is a key part to how Union play. But I think what really impressed me in this game was the clinicality of Frankfurt, which they've been perhaps lacking over the last few games. I think they only had 5 shots on target and got 5 goals in this game. So I don't know whether that says not so much about the goalkeeping from Union, or whether it says a lot about the clinicality of Frankfurt. But yeah, I mean, obviously one of the goals was an own goal as well. It was that man, Robert Andrijk, again, wasn't it, Rory? I mean, I think he's won our loser of the week before our zero of the week. And yet again, it was a poor performance from him, wasn't it, Rory?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Robert Andrijk can be thankful that we haven't really got time for a zero of the week section this weekend, because I think he would have definitely been a winner for that back pass. Yeah, I mean, it was such an entertaining start. 1-1 within a flash. Two early goals. Frankfurt got themselves ahead, and then Union pull one back, and then there were several chances for Union at 1-1. They were pressing more than any other side, really. Their set piece looked so threatening. I think Man United could take some tips from Union about how to take set plays, because I mean, they are seriously dangerous from set plays, Union. But yeah, the back pass, I mean, it's just, I don't know why Andrix even bothers to play it backwards, because he seems like, obviously Union win the ball back and he's got the ball. I know the fashionable thing is to pass it back to the keeper these days, but the keeper's obviously moved out of his goal to receive the back pass, and Andrix has hit it. Luther kind of slips, I guess, but yeah, calamity strikes through Union. And then another game where we had a flurry of goals. Well, like you said, Frankfurt were clinical with their finishing. Kostic, Silva, and Kamada, just such a deadly trio. And that's not even including the likes of Yunus or Kostic, or Jovic, who actually started up front with Silva. I thought that looked like a really dangerous formation, actually, for Frankfurt, with the two of them up front. Obviously, Jovic didn't get a goal, unfortunately for him, but I thought that all really kind of linked up quite well, and there was such a threat, and some really nice goals, actually. To obviously the Kostic and Silva routine always works. Silva with some first time finishes as well. The 4th goal, I think it was, where he just runs onto a Kamada pass into the near post, really well hit goal. And it was a good thing that Frankfurt were clinical, because Union had chances, like I mentioned, especially when the game was at 4-2. There was a couple of big chances actually for Union. Andrijk actually did hit the bar as well, so he had a bit of a hit and miss game, certainly for him. And then Frankfurt, with pretty much the last kick of the game, managed to press Union high up, win the ball. We've seen it a million times before, trying to play out from the back, lose the ball, goal to the other team. So yeah, I mean, entertaining game, very, very much needed win for Frankfurt. It was a day, certainly, where things were kind of going up and down in terms of Frankfurt. When they were drawing, Dortmund were winning. So Dortmund were going above them in the league into 4th, and you're thinking, oh, this might really change things. And then obviously Köln take the lead, and then Dortmund then throw points away and Frankfurt take the lead. So it was very topsy-turvy all day long. But it ended up being a great day for Frankfurt, because obviously they got a big win and Dortmund dropped points. But yeah, great game of football, great game of Bundesliga action to watch. Unlucky for Union, because it probably a harsh scoreline on them.
Yeah, I think one interesting thing that's going to come in the summer, obviously, is like the kind of dilemma between Silva and Jovic, because I've read some news in the German papers recently that Silva is attracting interest from elsewhere. I mean, he is a top striker at the end of the day. I mean, for me, he's been absolutely outstanding this season. 21 goals already. He could easily get up to 25 by the end of the season. And I think from what I gather is that Frankfurt are considering cashing in on him and bringing in Jovic as the replacement. But, I mean, obviously, some people would say, why not just add Jovic anyway? Because, I mean, the chances are they're going to qualify for the Champions League. That could also kind of decide whether they do manage to keep Andre Silva as well. But for me, Silva, I mean, he is a top quality striker. I mean, along with probably Lewandowski and Haaland, he probably is the best striker, I would say, in the league at the moment. And yeah, they've just got so much quality. I mean, Kamada is just, I've really enjoyed watching him this season. He's just been fantastic. I think obviously Jovic really added well, replacing Younes. Younes might consider himself a little bit unlucky to be dropped, but he has gone off the pace a little bit in the last few weeks. But he also had a fantastic season as well, signing from Ajax. Yeah, I mean, it's great times for Frankfurt. Obviously now 4-point gap has opened up, but the big thing is that Dortmund host Frankfurt in the next set of fixtures. So, I mean, the next set of fixtures is full of absolutely enormous games, isn't it? I mean, it's just massive, that game. I think at the moment, though, I think Frankfurt have got more than enough quality to go and do a job on Dortmund, to be honest. But I think, again, a lot of it is going to come into the game management and the mentality that they go into that game with. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that match, Dortmund v Frankfurt. And yeah, as for Union, still, it was a good performance, really, especially going forward. Even though they concede 5 goals, they play entertaining football. It was a good performance. They created chances. They scored a couple of goals. So again, not too much to worry about from their point of view. Okay, so let's stay with the Champions League now. And obviously a team that are really, really looking very, very comfortable in that third spot, aren't they? Wolfsburg getting another away win in Werder Bremen. This game has started off with a man that we've given a lot of praise for at the other end, Josh Sargent, heading into the back of his own net from a set piece as well. I mean, this was another strange moment, wasn't it, really? I mean, you have to question, why is he heading towards his goal there? I mean, some would say it was a little bit unlucky because he kind of like dropped in that area between the goalkeeper's hand and the bar. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty poor own goal, that one. Then the second goal was that man again, wasn't it? It was that man, Wout Weghorst, with the second goal. Yeah, Werder Bremen, they made a good game of it, though, from there on. I mean, Kevin Merwald with a great strike into the bottom corner from the set piece, making it 2-1 just before half-time. Then I thought in the second half, Werder really kind of took the game to Wolfsburg, didn't they? And they were probably a little bit unlucky not to get a leveler, Rory, there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolfsburg had to show as much steel, Castile, as he has been. Sorry, I had to do that. As they have done all season. Yeah, obviously the first goal, Arnold, is whips in a nice free kick, and it looks like Lacroix got the touch, but obviously it comes off Arnold and loops in. And then some great pressing actually from Wolfsburg creates the opportunity for Weghorst, because I think it's Schlager maybe who makes a tackle, falls nicely for Weghorst, and he does the rest. Obviously the clinical striker that he's become this season, or is this season. And yeah, but then Werder, they got themselves back into, as you said, on half time, and then did take the game to Wolfsburg. And I think any other team might have crumbled, especially because both teams are quite strong from set pieces. I would say certainly Werder utilise that kind of aerial kind of dominance, but obviously the shame for them is that they're up against a very strong aerially Wolfsburg side. Obviously the likes of Brooks and Lacroix in that defence were there for a reason, and they huffed and they puffed, and I think their chance fell to one of their subs right at the end, but unfortunately his shot was quite tame, which Castile's had no problem with. So yeah, I mean, the momentum at the moment is with Wolfsburg. They just keep on winning, and look very comfortable, nestled into third place right now. I guess they're just there waiting in case there's a slip up from either RB or Bayern to maybe put pressure on them. But right now they're on plain sailing, really good team. So great result for them, and unlucky for Werder because they're playing some decent stuff as well at the moment.
Yeah, they are. I think this was classic Wolfsburg in many ways, wasn't it? We've talked a lot about the steel that they have in that side. I think, as you say, most teams, even teams like Dortmund or Frankfurt in this situation, they might have conceded that equaliser. But with Wolfsburg, it's just like that great wall, isn't it? They just got so much belief that they're going to stick in and win games. And I think obviously now 8 points clear. They've got Cologne at home in the next game, and obviously the two big rivals for that top 4 spot play each other in the next game. So I mean, we've got to say if they win that game, they're going to be pretty comfortable, I think, into the top 4. But I mean, obviously they might still harbour hopes of a title push yet, but I think that would rely on probably Bayern losing against Leipzig and then them managing to cut it to 7 points. And even then, it's a big ask.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been a great season for Wolfsburg. Let's give them some credit. They've had a lot of standout performance. Obviously, Weghorst, who's a talisman, but also Casteels has been outstanding. You know, Lacroix, who's also been linked with Dortmund in recent weeks, by the way. He's been, for me, he's been one of the best centre-halves of the season this year in the Bundesliga, if not the best, to be honest with you. And I think a lot of people are going to come looking his way. But you've got to remember, Wolfsburg, they do have the financial clout to keep the best players. So that's going to be an interesting development potentially as well. I mean, obviously, Casteels has just been outstanding. Brooks has also been very good. Schlager has been excellent in recent weeks. It's just been like a really, really good team effort from Wolfsburg. And yeah, I think they deserve a top 4 spot for the first time in a number of years. I think the first time for at least 5 or 6 years. This will be a top 4 position for Wolfsburg. So let's move on to the final team, which I would consider to be in a top 4 race, which of course is Borussia Dortmund, who played out a derby draw away in Cologne. Obviously, the key talking point in this game, probably the penalty, wasn't it? I mean, it looked, at the time, I thought it was a little bit soft because it literally played on for at least another 2 or 3 minutes after that. And then he finally went to the board and gave a penalty against the youngster Jude Bellingham. Rory, what did you make of that one? Would you say it was a bit harsh given the fact that they did play on for so long, or do you think it was fair to go back?
It's one of those. So for me, it's probably a penalty because there's a slight move of the arm/elbow, just a little bit out, as if it's in an unnatural position, which is obviously the thing that we're being told a lot this season. So by law, it's probably the right decision. What the problem is, football's such a fast-paced, free-flowing game, is that once you go on for 30 seconds, even a minute, that is a long time for lots of different things to happen in a game. So the fact that it obviously went on for so long before it got reviewed is a really strange one. So yeah, it is harsh. Because it's something completely innocuous as well. Obviously, Dortmund got into the lead early on from a lovely bit of play from Haaland, taking down a long ball from Chan. And then Cologne just come forward, a bit of a hopeful ball into the box, which wasn't even a good cross. It hit the first man, who is Bellingham. And it just so happens a slight move towards it. Then, obviously, Duda does the rest from the spot. But yeah, and then obviously fair play to Cologne from there on in. Obviously they kept Dortmund at bay, and then obviously go down the other end, break well, and I mean there's a bit of calamity defending again from no shock Thomas Meunier because he gets to the through ball, but then he kicks it on for Jacobs to run onto perfectly. So it's almost like an assist, and the finish is actually really good. Actually, smashes it really hard. Past the keeper up into the roof of the net for 2-1. So then you're thinking, oh, this would be an outstanding win for Cologne. And as the table was looking, you think if they win, this is a huge step towards safety. But then obviously Dortmund do come back into it. Haaland, particularly in this game, looked like a one-man team. He was doing everything he possibly could to get them back into the game. Numerous shots, numerous chances, and then he managed to get on the end of one eventually to tap in to make it 2-2. And then, yeah, the point for Cologne in the end, because of the results on Sunday, now looks like a bad point, amazingly. No point is a bad point in a relegation battle because it's a point in the right direction, of course. And they almost did the double over Dortmund. Yeah, entertaining game for sure. 2 bits just to touch on very quickly before we move on to the next game or onto your thoughts, Mark. Firstly, it seemed like Haaland stormed off at the end of the game down the tunnel, obviously very, very frustrated in what he probably felt like he wasn't supported very well by his team in general. So naturally frustrated, I would say, from that game. Probably not much to read into. But then, unfortunately, and we don't often talk about this on the show because we don't like to get too political, I guess. But there was obviously some very horrible racial abuse for Jude Bellingham on Instagram after the game, which he posted on his story. And it's absolutely vile, disgusting sort of behaviour for such a young lad to have to deal with, for anyone to have to deal with, of course. But Bellingham is a young lad who's been thrown into the spotlight through no fault of his own, through the pure talent that he has. And for him to get such abuse for, I mean, I'm assuming for what people are scapegoating him for giving away a penalty in a game where Dortmund had an hour plus to redeem the situation and come back and win. And there's plenty of other players you can blame if you want to blame the result on this young man who has done fantastic work for Dortmund, especially in the last month or so. I think he's really come into his own. Obviously, racial abuse or any kind of racial abuse across any social media platform is not, it's just not right. It's we need to get out of the game. We need to get out of society, but it still keeps on creeping back in. The media regulators need to sort this out. All these fake accounts. It drives me crazy how people can get on social media accounts so easily and do this sort of thing and there not be any repercussions. Obviously, we saw it in the Europa League as well, where with a player for the Rangers game, which from what I've seen doesn't seem to have been picked up very seriously from UEFA. So yeah, very unfortunate to have to talk about something so horrible on this show, but I just wanted to allude to that a little bit, Mark. I don't know about what your thoughts are quickly on that.
Yeah, it definitely seems as though they need to kind of sort that out, especially on the social media platforms, because it's just, as you say, it's a bit too easy for them to get on and do it. Like, I think if it was on a normal kind of profile, I think they wouldn't get away with it, so it's just it definitely has to come from the social media providers. But again, I think I mentioned to you before the show, Rory, that these kind of guys, they always seem to be a couple of steps ahead of the game and they know how to find ways to get around it. So it's very unfortunate that this kind of thing has crept back into the game after the game did a lot of effort to try and knock it out of the game, but it's yeah, I think social media has kind of brought it back to the surface in the last year. Maybe people are just bored. I don't know this year, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it seems to have crept back in a lot more than it has been in the last 10 years, I would say. So yeah, something's got to be done. But it's, I think it's got to come more from the social media companies than anything, I guess. Yeah. But I think, about the game overall, it's probably not that good of a point for either side. As you say, given other results with Frankfurt winning and Wolfsburg winning in the top 4 race. And then, Cologne are going to be a bit disappointed. They just don't seem to be able to find ways to win football matches, do they, Cologne? It's starting to look very worrying for them now because it just seems as though Mainz and Hertha are really starting to play the best football that they've done in the season. And that second or third bottom is looking like a very real possibility for Cologne at the minute, unless they can start finding some wins. They don't score many goals, and I think they'd probably have lost this game if it wasn't for that penalty, in truth. I still think Dortmund with a better side, as you say, mostly through Haaland, but it's something's got to improve for Cologne, really, unless they are going to get relegated. I think it's they do play okay. They do okay against some of these bigger teams, but they're not doing enough in general, and they're not creating enough chances. And maybe they've got to push forward a bit more to kind of abandon the more negative approach and start to attack a bit more. That will be my recommendation for them, but we'll have to see what goes on in the future. So, yeah, talking of teams that really did attack well, though, it was Hertha Berlin, wasn't it? I mean, this was just we've been waiting, haven't we, for Hertha for so many weeks to put in a performance like this, and it finally came against the struggling Leverkusen boys. But, yeah, I mean, this first half, it was just like electric from Hertha, wasn't it, Rory? I mean, I was just really impressed with them. Obviously, the goal from Zay, Keith, to give them the lead, the effort off the post, it looked like it was going to come out, but it went into the back of the net. Then, obviously, Cunha getting the second goal as well. How impressed were you there, Rory, of the performance of Hertha Berlin?
Yeah, incredibly impressed. And it just felt like one of those performances that was coming around the corner. There has been many kind of false dawns for Hertha this season and kind of moments where we thought, like they look like a team that could genuinely be well above mid-table with the talent they possess. They were, quick coming forwards against all over the place Leverkusen defence. But more the credit obviously should go towards Hertha, because they were outstanding on the front foot, wanted to attack, wanted to score goals, and just went for the kill really in the first half. And it was outstanding. Cordoba, Lukebakio, and obviously Kuna himself. He obviously made a lovely Cruyff turn actually Cordoba made a lovely Cruyff turn in the box. A bit of kind of invention when the ball kind of fell to him for him to then turn and smash home for the third goal. Really impressive stuff. And in the second half, similar sort of theme. Obviously, Leverkusen were trying to get back into it, and Hertha were often breaking. Kuna again. Obviously, he set up a goal for it to be disallowed because of a handball. He then broke himself to have a chance. Guendouzi playing in Piatek late on as well, who probably should have done better with his effort. So, 3-0, is a completely fair result. Could have been more. Leverkusen just looked lost. Obviously, we've said who's done worse, Gladbach or Leverkusen, but certainly there'll be pressure on the manager right now. Obviously, Peter Bosch, he's done his former team in Dortmund a favour by dropping points again, and obviously now there's a very small gap between themselves and Union, and even after Freiburg's win, actually, we said that Freiburg are more mid-table. They're now only 3 points off Leverkusen. If we consider Stuttgart to be within a chance, we have to say Freiburg are as well again. So, I mean, even Gladbach, if they can sort themselves out, who knows? Leverkusen just look a mess. Don't really. Obviously, we can talk about it for hours on end, but we wouldn't get very far. I think it's just a team that just needs to reset at the end of the season. They just need to try and sneak in and get some sort of European football. Or maybe they need a full season of not being in Europe to sort themselves out. I don't know. Huge result on the other end of it in the relegation race for Hertha. Obviously, it jumps them massively up into 14th place. Obviously, it's so close right now from 14th to 17th, 2 points in it. The respective goal differences are obviously quite close, but the win for Hertha is a +3 and actually helps them out quite significantly in that area. Will Hertha now go on to push on and get out of that, that sort of trouble? But obviously, we never know. I think it'll be close until the end of the season, regardless. So, big win in the context of the relegation race, but still plenty to do for Hertha.
Yeah, I think one of the crazy stats from that game as well was the fact that Leverkusen, despite losing 3-0, they had 72% of the possession. But if you look at the shots, the goals and everything, the chances, obviously Hertha dominated. But I always find it surprising, because you'd think if you had 72% possession in a game, you're going to create more than what they did, and they're not going to lose 3-0. But yeah, it just proves that football can be a crazy game, and things I think Hertha, they like playing kind of on the counter. I think most of their best performances have come when they've been able to play on the counter and not kind of dominate the game. They don't seem to be very good at kind of keeping possession or dominating games. But yeah, I mean, this was fantastic. Obviously, another point, Stein, who I think won our loser of the week, our zero of the week, he did make one big save at 3-0. So yeah, a little bit of credit for him. He kept his place in the team, and he made only really one big save. That was their only shot on target actually in the game at 3-0. So yeah, fair play to him for that. We criticise keepers a lot, but yeah, good save there from him. So, talking of teams that won down at the bottom, we had another win for Mainz, didn't we? I mean, this was a really good game. I really enjoyed watching this, especially the first half was fantastic in this match. I mean, you've got the match just kicks off. You're thinking Mainz have got to try and start this game well, because we often see that the first goal is really important with teams like Mainz down at the bottom. And then 42 seconds on the clock, and they already go ahead. And it's another defensive mix-up from Hoffenheim, who just haven't done it defensively this season for me at times. Then a few minutes later, the free kick comes in, and it drops for the centre half, who looks sure to score. The goalkeeper actually makes a big save. This is all within 2.5 minutes, incredibly. Then you've got the big chance for Babu with about 7 or 8 minutes on the clock. I think it was Baumgartner plays it brilliantly across the area, and Babu, he does miss a lot of chances, doesn't he? Skies it over when it looked impossible to miss, really. Then, what did you make of the rest of that game, Rory? I'll let you talk us through the rest of that one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was, like you said, there was chances at both ends most of the first half. Obviously, and then as you mentioned, start with Richards was at fault for giving the ball away for Hoffenheim, but actually made amends actually for a lovely ball over the top for Babu to actually get on the end of and finish well actually to make it 1-1. And then you're thinking, oh great, Hoffenheim, good response. Obviously, get into half time 1-1, but Mainz, they were inspired to come back even stronger, and so from a short corner, Boetius floats in the ball for Cahor to head home basically from an unmarked kind of position. So that's 2-1, and then from there on in, obviously they just they managed the game well. Saint Just had a few efforts actually. But Baumann did well to save from. Kramaric had the odd chance, but Mainz were generally in control of it, give or take, and probably again made the most of the Hoffenheim side. They probably knew that they were safe from relegation. Obviously, stuck in that middle kind of position of the table with not much to play for now at the end of the season. So just made the most of it. Hoffenheim couldn't match the intensity of Mainz. Mainz obviously needed to win the game more and wanted it more, and that showed in the end. They could have obviously been punished for not taking their chances and killing the game, making it 3-4-1, whatever you want. But yeah, another huge win for Mainz. It's been an incredibly impressive comeback. I think 2 and a bit months ago, maybe me and Mark were effectively ruling them out, which, fair play to them. They've showed us and they've showed a lot of people some incredible character and some famous wins, really, against some top teams in the division, foregoing just this result in general, and have picked up a lot of wins very quickly and are now obviously sitting outside of the relegation playoff places. And that'll make them feel really good about themselves. They've worked very hard to do so. Obviously still have loads to do as Hertha do in this relegation race, and I'm sure at times in the next few weeks they'll be back in the relegation zone, because it probably will just keep on. Some teams will pick up results, others won't, but that hopefully will make it an incredibly exciting relegation race. So great result for Mainz. Obviously huge for them, but I expect there still to be lots of ups and downs with the game still to go.
Yeah, and I think another point there, Jerry St. Just as well was actually called up to the Dutch national team as well during the week. So fair play to him. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, obviously we've talked about how poor at times Mainz have been defensively, but I think that's a big sign of how much they've improved defensively and improved the game management and the way that they're dealing with matches at the moment, because this kind of performance, especially the second half, wouldn't have come early in the season. They'd have got 2-0 ahead and they'd have lost 4-2. That's what was happening in the early part of the season. But yeah, for me, Mainz at the moment, it's starting to look like they are a bit too good to go down. I think we are starting to see, especially since Christmas, the performances have just been improving, and they're really starting to turn performances into results now, aren't they? And I just think they do have some quality players. As you mentioned, Boetius is a really good player, again, with a good set piece on him as well. And I think, despite the sale of Mateta, that seems to have been the best thing they've done all season, to be honest with you, because since he sold him, the season's turned around. Like, it's a different place now, isn't it? And I think, for me now, Mainz will stay up. I think they've got enough quality, enough know-how. Also, credit to Bo Svensson as well. He came in just before Christmas after they'd already gone through 2 managers in the early part of the season. He is the 3rd manager of the season, Bo Svensson. I think he's been fantastic for them, the Scandinavian. Fair play to them. As you say, they're far from safe. Yeah, far from safe, especially considering that we talked about the next set of fixtures is big. Another big game, Mainz v Bielefeld as well, just around the corner. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that game literally could determine their season. If they win that, it's going to be really looking positive for them. Lose it, and they're back to square one pretty much. So it's, big games all around. So yeah, so that pretty much sums up the relegation fight, because I don't think we can consider the next team, Schalke, really still in the relegation fight, can we? I mean, Gladbach are on the periphery of the European places, but yeah, this was another dreary performance from Schalke. The first goal was just a category of errors, wasn't it, which led to obviously Stindl just smashing it home from the pullback. But yeah, there was so much. What did you think of the obviously the fullback? The winger just ran around him, didn't he, as if he wasn't there, and it was just, this was so weak, it was so poor, you know. Then obviously, again, goalkeeping errors as well for the third goal. The keeper kind of saves it. Then I don't know what he does really. Like, he kind of falls over the line with the ball in his hand, and it's just another error, really, Rory.
Yeah, won't touch on this or the next game for too long, obviously, because we've been talking a while anyway. But yeah, perfect opposition for Gladbach to play, to get a bit of confidence back into them. Much needed win. But yeah, they're on the periphery of it, but can they get a run together now? I doubt it. To be in the top six, we'll see. But yeah, just catalogue of errors every weekend, unfortunately. Schalke, I think it's William who made the poor attempt at a clearance with the first goal, then it falls to Stindl. The keeping error one, I think, yeah, it goes down as an own goal. I think obviously it's a really good header from Elvedi. I think it's Rune Owen goal, I think it is, isn't it? And the ball, I think it just bounced, because he was so high up, it bounces down. His landing perhaps then bounces the ball over the line. So I do have sympathy for him on that one, because there's been plenty of goalkeeping howlers we've seen. That obviously was an error, but it was a hard one for sure. So yeah, bit of sympathy, but yeah, not much sympathy probably going around from Schalke fans anyway. So yeah. Gladbach, decent win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, puts them back in with the shout of Europe, but they're going to have to improve against better opposition than Schalke. So let's just finish up with what we billed as being the only mid-table game of the season, but actually in reality, as Rory said before, Freiburg are on the periphery of the European places, and Augsburg, with the results, probably won't consider themselves 100% safe, although they are probably 85% safe, I would say, on 29 points. So yeah, I mean, this game was it was quite an entertaining game, actually. There were a lot of chances either side. Obviously, Adam Salai, who for me has been really impressive recently, probably been their best player in the last 5-6 games. Freiburg opening the scoring. What did you make of this one, Rory? Did you enjoy this game, or?
Yeah, I didn't catch too much of it, but I think, as you mentioned it, at first it probably felt like it was just a bit of a mid-table clash. But the way that obviously the results had gone, Freiburg probably would have been motivated quite highly by the Leverkusen result and saw an opportunity to strike, which they did very professionally. Obviously, Salai, as you mentioned, was able to get onto the score sheet. Obviously getting themselves 1-0 up, and there's certainly chances at both ends. Khedira, I think, had a decent chance as well. There's some good saves knocking around. Obviously, the second goal looks like it's going to be chalked out from Leonhardt, but they actually check it, and then it ends up standing. So it's kind of like the opposite way around, really, and of how VAR usually works. So yeah, 2-0, and they kind of saw it out from there. So yeah, good win for Freiburg. They've been a bit up and down in the last month or two, but if they can get themselves on a bit of a run towards the end of the season, they're just one win away from Leverkusen, and the way they're playing, there's certainly no given that they'll be picking up points that regularly. So the race is well and truly on for 6th place, and obviously we talk about the race of the top 4, but 6th place will be a big kind of stick, for that carrot for teams to chase, because it will mean a significant amount of more money being in the Europa League in general. So yeah, we'll have to see how that develops. Leverkusen, Union, Freiburg, and even Stuttgart and Gladbach. There's a lot of teams that in theory could do it. So yeah, we'll watch it with interest.
Yeah, as you say, especially for teams like Freiburg and Union Berlin, who aren't the richest clubs. I mean, Europa League would be like winning the lottery for them, really. So yeah, I think, but as you say, perhaps a team like a Leverkusen or a Gladbach, who both have poor seasons, let's be honest, really, they perhaps could do with missing out on Europe to kind of focus more on but yeah, that won't be in their mentality at the minute, because they have to try and achieve what they can, Okay, so that pretty much brings to an end our review of week 26. So let's just close the show with looking at this. So yeah, so we have at Over the Bar FB for our Twitter following. So remember, anything football related you can see on here. Also, otbfootball.net. That's like the centerpiece of our channel. Remember to check out the League One show. I think Rory's done a few pieces on the Bundesliga as well, so remember to check them out. Check everything out that interests you, and remember to comment and like and subscribe. So it's been a great week, and obviously next week we do have the break for the beloved internationals. I think everybody loves this weekend, don't they? But yeah, we come back in early April with a brilliant weekend of games. Look out for the prediction show, which will go out in the next week or so. So yeah, see you then, guys.
Cheers all.